You have probably heard about the recent news of the European Court of Justice striking down, I beg your pardon for the language, the US Privacy Shield based on its non-compliance with the GDPR, the wide European set of data protection rules. But we need to roll back a bit. According to the GDPR, transfer of personal data from the European Union to outside the European Union is allowed only when the receiving country provides an adequate level of data protection up to the standards of Europe or similar. There is a wide list of countries that, according to the European Commission, provide enough protection for personal data. And this list includes, among others, Canada, Switzerland. Unfortunately, the US doesn't belong to the white list, and together with China, India, Russia, they are all outside this white list. So the US Privacy Shield was a way to make it up for the fact that the US is not part of the white list for data protection purposes. And by joining this program, US businesses could become lawful recipients of personal data from Europe under the GDPR. According to the European Court of Justice, one of the reasons why the US Privacy Shield is not compliant with the GDPR is that some US public agencies, I think CAI, FBI, John Grisham helped me, apply surveillance programs that go beyond what is strictly necessary. So what happens now? Don't worry, you can still transfer personal data from the EU to the United States of America, but you need to find a legal ground other than the US Privacy Shield. The first legal ground coming to my mind is user consent. If the data subject allows you to transfer personal data to the US, you are of course allowed to do so, but the problem is that you need to collect the user consent. They need to flag a checkbox on your site, most likely, and it's not very handy. It's probably easy to have an agreement in place between the data exporter and the data importer in the US based on the standard clauses provided by the European Union. It's a contract model you can apply to your own transfer of personal data, and of course it lasts for more than one transfer. I need to remind you that you're also allowed to transfer personal data to the US if this is strictly necessary to provide a service or perform a contractual obligation. For instance, if you are shipping products to the US for an online purchase, you will have to share your personal data of the recipient with a US courier company, I believe. And in this case, of course, it's allowed to share the data. When the UK exits the European Union for data protection purposes in January 2021, you will also need to address the transfer of personal data to the United Kingdom, especially if the UK is not included in the white list from the start. So you have some homework. You need to check that all your transfer of personal data outside the European Union, if any, are compliant with the GDPR. Do you have any question? Any comment? You can please feel free to post them below this video. And bye for now. See you next week. Ciao, ciao.